morning, and today is the 30th of May 2022. Now, as you can see, I'm not very professional in my approach or my speaking manner or whatever else, but I want to express a few things and I want to get right into the subject very shortly. But I have family and friends who just will never accept that the universe is filled with life, and some of my friends and some people that I've known for quite a number of years, in some cases over 30 years, because they're what you'd have to describe obviously as fundamentalist Christians. They think, well, there's God, there's heaven, then there's the earth and all mankind and whatever, and animals, you know, life on earth, and there's nothing else. The universe is empty, and I challenge that, shall I say. But the most important thing here is I understand when we're talking about UFOs, or these days they call them UAP, unidentified aerial phenomena, big deal, they're changing the title, because I guess they think, well, UFOs, you know, tin foil hat brigades and you know, all sorts of fringe elements and people that are a bit loony-toony and so on. But then there are a lot of very serious and competent investigators and people who study the subject and have done very well over many years, and some have actually passed away now. One that I admire a lot and saw some good lectures was Stanton Friedman in the United States, and those people who have heard of things like Area 51 and in particular in his case the Roswell UFO incident, which there were massive cover-ups and lies and everything about it for many years, and he's now not here any longer. But I wanted to mainly get on to a couple of things, let's say, that I believe we're leading towards what is known as full disclosure on the subject. Now, there's been a couple of congressional hearings and an office set up there, people to investigate current UFO or UAP sightings, and a lot of it is concentrating on the US military and in particular, I guess, the US Navy, now that the official film has come out, the foot has been acknowledged by the Navy as being real, and saying, well, UFOs are real. Well, of course, many people who have remaining doubters would say, oh, UFO, unidentified flying object. Well, it could be anything. Well, what they mean by UFO in that case is we're dealing with what is often described correctly as craft, vehicles. You'll hear Top Gun pilots describing the actions of these vehicles, and they are beyond our understanding in the sense of their movement. They're able to, they're intelligently controlled, shall we say. Indeed, they probably are manned, if you want to use the old-fashioned term. And you think, well, okay, they describe them tic-tac UFOs. Many people out there have heard of this term tic-tac UFO. They think, oh, tic-tac, what's that? You know, is it like a lolly? You know, but it's not. Now, those pilots have described and have flown over one of the craft, which was just below the surface of the water out there in the Pacific, off the coast of California, about 50, 60 miles off the coast of San Diego, actually. And they just said, well, that object that's under the water is about the size of a 737 aircraft. So you say, okay, it's a pretty good sized tic-tac. There's no doubt about it. And I've had good friends even say, oh, it could be a Russian or Chinese or whatever, a drone. Well, sorry, but you don't build drones the size of a 737. And secondly, none of them can fly at the speed of these vehicles that they're talking about. And what I mean by that is it's been measured on the best radar systems in the world, as in one case dropping from 80,000 feet to above the water to 50 feet above the water in less than 1 second. And then flying out of the area and measured on the radar, measured at over 40,000 miles an hour. Now that's extremely fast. Now we're developing what they call hypersonic missiles, which are going to travel very, very quickly. So they're getting technology is improving in that area, but it doesn't do anything like what I've just described. Now, it's very difficult for some people, and I'll send this to a number of my friends, and even Christian friends who will say, oh no, it can't be right. But so wait a minute, when you examine the facts about this, you'll come to the realisation that something is going on. Now, and the realisation, let's say, that these are, well, alien craft. It's that simple. They're not drones, secret weapons, definitely not secret weapons of the Americans. And I can clarify that by saying, well, not only are these particular very recent, by that I mean 2004 right through to fairly recent times as well, sightings of these vehicles, and people are not scoffing at it anymore. They're investigating it properly. They're coming to conclusions as best they can. And we are now dealing up front, shall we say, with what is actually happening. Now, to get into that, let's say, I believe that what is known as full disclosure will occur, and it won't be just some politician saying, oh well, you know, 50 or 80 years ago even, politicians lied about things like Roswell and other crashed UFOs, and that was in 1948 I think actually, sorry. And then about where it was all covered up, and and the bodies were taken out, and the craft, every piece of the craft that was found, the place was scoured and all the metal was taken. But there had been one rancher in that case, in this Roswell, I think it was 47 or 48 that I'm talking, but anyway, might have been 47, sorry about that. He showed it to his son, and his son grew up to become a Navy, I think, a doctor and specialist in the military. And he said, this material was like nothing on earth. This is a proof of these things is in my hand, shall we say. But the full disclosure, I think there'll be a worldwide disclosure, in the sense that scientists and people with many years experience in studying the subject and interviewing people and other things, there'll be a lot more to it than that, will just say things that, in other words, that had not been said in the past. Some people will recall that UFO or UAP investigation, some months back now, nearly a year ago, that, well, they're real, I don't know whether they're drones, I don't know whether they are not secret weapons of the US. They might be alien, but they were very careful about how they said that and what, and not revealing straight out. And the reason is, there are millions of fundamental Christians, and I'm a Christian by the way, but not a fundamentalist in the sense that I accept every word of the Bible. I think it's basically a good guideline to life and everything else, and history, and it's poetry and some of it's there's too much it's too complicated to go into about the Bible itself at the moment. But having the viewpoint, shall we say, that we're alone in the universe is just a dangerous thing to do in a sense. And also about the age of the universe is not 6,000 years, it's several billion, it's like 13 billion. More than that perhaps, but what we can observe, and the galaxies are that far away, and we're talking about the speed of light and the distance of the galaxies, proving that the universe is very, very old. And you might say straight away, well, what's that got to do with UFOs? Well, I think it's got a lot to do with it. The reason I say that is because I believe, now this is what I've got to clarify, is my belief, and doesn't mean that it's come out of research, but I believe that God has created the universe and everything in it basically, but what's happened, he may well have created evolution. Now people would start scoffing at that. Oh no, you can't have. It's either evolution or it's God and creation. Yes, it is creation, but in what form is the creation? Even in the Bible, even in Genesis, it makes it clear. It says that let the oceans bring forth life, should say. Let the earth bring forth life. What does that mean? That means that the spores, the germination of life is already there, and he's commanding it to bring it forth. Therefore, in my opinion, he's planted evolution all over the universe, and it progresses over, yes, billions of years. And I think what's happened is civilizations much older than our own have conquered not only travel to space, but time as well, and that's a controversial thing. But anyone amongst you have heard of the worm theory, is where you travel from one part of the galaxy to another in a matter of moments. I know I can't explain that. A lot of people, even the person, which is Michio Kaku, who is one of the greatest physicists in the world today, and maybe of all time, has said that's what he believes happens. And these various species have advanced to such a degree that they can travel around in a matter of basically of minutes or a couple of hours, compared to, even if you're travelling at light, it takes years and years to get to other parts of the galaxy. Just as I say, travelling at light. Now, our nearest star to our galaxy, Alpha Centauri, is 4 light years away. So travelling at light, it'll take you 4 years to reach even that nearest star. So a lot of people viewing this would say, well, see, that's why they can't get here, because it's too far. But if they've overcome, as I say, time and space, and are able to manipulate that and go through wormholes as if they're just like going through a passageway in a house and coming out the other side and emerging, we're talking a different thing here. We're talking a so advanced technology and understanding of physics. Our understanding of physics, we think we understand physics. We do to a certain degree. There's no doubt about it. But drawing a line under something and saying, oh well, like Einstein did actually, I think, you can't travel faster than the speed of light. Now, how did he know? He did a whole lot of figures, and he said, I don't think you can travel faster than the speed of light. And he gave his reasons, but Michio Kaku would give you reasons why you can travel faster than the speed of light. And wormholes are that part of that answer. So another area I'd like to touch on before we do conclude this is the number of species of aliens that have been observed many, many times over many decades, over centuries, and even longer, indicates that that evolution alone can't possibly have come up with all of those different species. Same as one could argue evolution can't come up with all of these species of creatures that, with their, eyes for an elephant versus eyes for a snail, that type of thing. So I know I'm getting off a little on track with this, but you get my point that if these people, let's say the best known, the Greys as they call them, very, very well known, and they abduct people and they can have experiments. They have this cattle mutilations and everything. Anyone who researches all this understands this happening. And then there's the ones they call the tall white, and you don't see much of those, but there's many other species that people have seen and are aware of. So I wouldn't dismiss all of that. If I were you, or viewing this, I would say, even if you're a skeptical person, I've made the statements along the way on this, but I'm not alone. There are many, many people on YouTube, for example, who make much more clear and statements and offer evidence and provide something for people to examine and think of and so forth. And there's been plenty of anecdotal evidence as well. And when you're talking about the craft and everything themselves, one of the things I put forward in this is the so-called Phoenix Lights of 1996, where craft, and I do mean that in its true sense, one craft was seen by tens of thousands of people and was estimated to be about 1 mile in diameter. Think about that again, 1 mile in diameter. So it's not an Earth-made craft. It's certainly not a drone. So going back to that report, shall we say, and the one that's just apparently occurred now, I understand there's a further report, and there's a lot online about this. And go to YouTube, maybe type in Congressional Report UFOs or UAP, and you'll come up with a lot of excellent videos on the subject. Would conclude we're dealing outright with alien civilizations, and what the full disclosure will tell us at some stage is this is a fact. It's not meant to frighten everybody. If people are now attuned to this and are ready for this, the vast majority of people are quite ready to accept this type of thing. And they refer, as I say, often people, oh well, look at Orson Welles' 1930s radio play, people committed suicide. People went berserk, they rang all the police stations up. They were seeing alien craft all over the place which didn't exist. That is quite true. But I think today you'll never find that type of thing. And I just want to issue it as like a forewarning that this is going to occur, and that some of my friends and family who doubt this altogether and will not open their minds, or they're too closed mind about some of the subjects here, will be subject, in a sense, to the greatest amount of shock. It'll be earth-shattering shock when they find, through other means, not just what I'm talking about, but many other means, finally it comes together, the full disclosure happens, it's on every news bulletin in the world, there's going to be special programs outlining, there'll be a lot of questions, there'll be a lot of things outlined on it to show that it's true. It's as true as anything you can discuss today. And the last thought on this subject, and I've discussed this with friends as well, people are still out there who believe that the world is flat. It is not, and the evidence shows that it is not, but that doesn't stop people believing that the world is flat and not accepting evidence. It's like I'm saying about to my friends that people believe that the universe is 6,000 years old, and it's not. It's going to take a lot to convince them that the universe is filled with life too. And I've mentioned this to good friends who still find it very, very difficult and may even not view this video right through, might even turn it off in disgust, shall we say. But if they do watch it right through, I'd like to hear from them, and just in conclusion, I'd like to get sensible questions or comments and something reasonable and nothing abusive to come out of this. I'd be very happy to have people's comments on the subject. So on that note, I'd say thank you for viewing.